Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Hope you had a great weekend and looking forward to spending some time with you today, talking to you about you and your business. Let me tell you, I think it is your business to be aware of what's going on in terms of taking care of your family and protecting yourself when it comes to our gun laws. You know, we've got very outstanding law enforcement, I feel, in the state of Texas, very concerned law enforcement. It can't be everywhere all the time. More importantly, you really can't maintain a free society unless that society is able to arm itself. You know, that's a fundamental idea. The Second Amendment makes the other 9 Bill of Rights possible. And so people like to think Texas has really more advanced laws when it comes to open carry, but we're actually among a minority of states that do not have open carry. And I'm delighted to have C.J. Grisham with me, and he's going to talk about this situation. He's with an organization called Open Carry Texas. You can learn more about them at opencarrytexas.org. And welcome to the program. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. First of all, do you know off the top of your head how many states do have open carry laws?
Right now, 44 states have open carry laws. We are one of only 6 that bans the practice, and that's from our Reconstruction era laws. So we're still working off the 1876 Constitution that banned firearms to keep them out of the hands of the newly freed slaves.
Is it going to require then a constitutional amendment to amend that?
No, it doesn't require a constitutional amendment, although there is a bill here in Texas to change the Constitution, because right now our legislature has the authority to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime. And we're trying to get that removed because it's very subjective. I mean, for example, you can't say that open carry causes crime, so there's no reason for the legislature to regulate it.
Okay, so why don't you elaborate a little bit on that? Because it's certainly contrarian to conventional thinking these days. And I realize conventional thinking is ridiculous. You know, they want to disarm us. That's what the drive is in conventional thinking. But are you saying it should be without regulation?
That I'm saying what?
Are you saying there should be no regulation around open carry?
No. What I'm talking about is the open carry of a firearm. If you can legally possess a firearm, there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to carry that firearm. So, yeah. So whatever the criteria
for owning a gun should be the same criteria for open carry, in your opinion.
Well, open carry,
at least for the concealed weapon criteria. The concealed weapon should be the same for the open carry.
Yeah, well, open carry, the way that we're framing this is there are several studies out there that have been done with criminals in prison. And a vast majority of those, well, actually, I'll give you several statistics. 57% of felons said they fear an armed civilian over an armed police officer. And then 81% of them said it's important to determine whether or not their victim is armed first. And if that's the case, because I know a lot of people say that it loses the tactical advantage and I want the element of surprise, with open carry, you don't have to worry about that because the criminal knows that you're armed and he's much less likely to mess with you. And you can look at story after story of the production of a firearm when a criminal comes into the building. The minute that firearm is displayed, those criminals go running because they're cowards and they want to be able to live to rob the next store. And confronting an armed attacker,
why? It's the same way when robbing a car or stealing a car. They go door to door and they're looking for the one who didn't even have enough sense to lock their door. It's the exact same kind of logic.
Right. Well, exactly. You know, and when they go to a door and the homeowner realizes that he's about to be robbed and they show up with their shotgun, that again causes the criminal to run away.
Yeah, no question about it. So where are we in this process? Where are we in the process of getting this done? Because I think it's huge, and I think a state like Texas that is so, I would say, advanced, way above the curve when it comes to protecting individual rights and individual freedoms. We should be the first state to have open carry, not one of the final 4, in my opinion. Talk about where we are in fixing this situation.
Well, actually, Texas is actually one of the strictest states in which to carry a firearm, not to own a firearm. We're pretty. We go off the federal guidelines, but we are the only state besides California that bars nonviolent misdemeanor crimes, and those can include everything from failing to vaccinate your pet to getting a body piercing if you've been drinking. Those kinds of small, petty misdemeanors are cause for you losing your concealed handgun license, and only California has a law like that. Every other state with a concealed handgun license doesn't. We're one of only 6 states that doesn't allow the open carry of firearms. We've got disqualifiers if you're, we're in the minority also of allowing adults aged 18 to carry a firearm. There's a lot that we aren't allowed to do here, but then there are some ways where we're ahead of the game. For example, in Texas, if you've got a concealed handgun license, you don't have to undergo the NICS check to buy a firearm. You kind of bypass that process because you've already passed the check in order to obtain that firearm. So it makes it easier to do purchases of a firearm. And if you ever are convicted of a crime, your CHL is confiscated from you. So it's a very simple process. And then also our state capital allows the concealed carry of a firearm to a permit holder. And in fact, there's a whole special line for people who have a concealed handgun license and are carrying it. They can go into the Capitol without going through metal detectors and such. So in some instances, we're ahead. But when it comes to a lot of our laws, we're still very primitive.
Yeah, so that goes back to my question. Where are we now in reversing this? What do we need to do as listeners to help move this along to restore or to make it where it should be?
Also, the legislation is passed out of the Senate committee. It's now gone to the House or to the full Senate, and we're expecting that there will be a debate on March 13th. So what people need to do is they need to call and they need to write their senators, their state senators, and demand that they vote for this legislation. And it's important to know some of the facts. You can look at a lot of that on our website, opencarrytexas.org, but make sure you know what you're talking about. Let them know that there's no reason why Texas can't go to even an unlicensed open carry. And I realize there's some pushback to that because people misunderstand. But when you've got 31 states and then 2 more right now considering constitutional carry and 6 others considering unlicensed carry, this idea that we need to step stool our rights needs to be stopped, and people need to contact their representatives, they need to contact their senators, and they need to demand it. And if they have the capability, they need to walk down to the Capitol and make their visible presence known and also advocate for our gun rights to be returned.
So what do you think of the role Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, has been playing in this?
Well, did you say about the lieutenant governor's statements?
Yeah.
Well, Dan Patrick, he made a few mistakes, but he also was very honest. He said that there's just not the votes in the Senate, and on that sense, he's correct. But what I would have liked to have seen from our lieutenant governor is a little more leadership. And what I mean by that is, if it were me, I would have said there isn't support in the Senate to pass unlicensed carry. But as your lieutenant governor, I am going to exert every amount of influence I have to make sure we do that. So we saw that as a lack of leadership. Also, the fact that he said it wasn't a priority, that really, that was one of those things that we weren't happy to hear. Now, he did reverse, and of course, he made it a priority, and we almost immediately had a Senate hearing on it in the committee. But again, I think it's an extreme lack of leadership that Mr. Patrick is not being the forefront on this. And, same with Greg Abbott. I think our governor also has a duty to demand and fight for our constitutional rights to be returned to us without hurdles.
Yep, a free society requires an armed society, in my opinion. And, there's no better deterrent to a criminal than seeing someone who's not a criminal carrying a gun. And right. So by all means, we need to turn this around. OpenCarryTexas.org. Go to that website, OpenCarryTexas.org. Learn more about it. You can make a donation to help them in their efforts. And I want to thank you, C.J. Grisham, for your time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, though, that the best content here can be found over there at the national news website, USDailyReview.com. Now, getting well over 1 million hits per month. Make sure you check it out. Like it on Facebook, follow her on Twitter, and you're listening to The Price.